Hi students, welcome to today's lecture on artificial neural network. Today we will be discussing about another topic in neural networks, that is regularization concept, regularization theory, and regularization neural networks we will discuss today. Okay, so in our earlier sessions we have discussed about how the RBF neural network can be designed, and also we discussed about the training algorithm used for RBF neural networks. And then today we will focus on the regularization concept and its usage in RBF neural networks. Okay, so let us start with a simple introduction to this regularization theory. Regularization concept is a way of controlling the smoothness properties of a mapping function. We all know that the RBF neural networks can be represented in the form of a mapping f of x, where x is the input pattern that we give to the neural network, and f of x is the output obtained from the RBF neural network. So the concept of regularization helps us in smoothing the error term by adding an extra regularization term to penalize the mappings that are not performing well. Okay, so that is the actual concept of regularization theory. And there are other strategies that can be used for controlling that overfitting problem, or that smoothing of the mapping functions. One of them is we can control, we can restrict the number of hidden units or hidden layers. Okay, so but this also, the regularization concept also helps us to overcome that overfitting problem with the help of RBF neural networks. Okay, so that is actually the regularization concept is. The basic purpose of this regularization concept is to apply some or to control the smoothing properties of a mapping function f of x in, with respect to uh, the neural networks. Okay, so then what is a regularization network? So let us define this regularization network. We know that RBF neural network um, performs a mapping from a low dimensional space to the output space. For that, we use a function f of x for mapping from hidden space to output space. Okay, so in that view, we can imagine this RBF network as a special case of regularization network, as the smoothing properties are applied by default. Okay, so along with the activation function, the special activation function used with the RBF neural network. So what we can say with this is RBF neural network fits naturally into the framework of the regularization that solves either interpolation problem or approximation problem. Okay, so these problems, for these problems, that is interpolation or approximation problems, the regularization concept means that smoothing of this curve or surface that forms this interpolation or approximation curve. So the regularization approach to RBF neural network is also known as regularization neural network. So I can define this regularization neural network as a combination of RBF neural network plus some regularization concept applied to that RBF neural network for smooth functioning of the mapping from input space to output space. Okay, so that is what the definition of regularization network is. So all of you remember that definition. You can simply RBF neural network plus regularization is called as regularization network. In that way also you can remember it. Okay. Now let us go through some basic definitions related to the regularization concept. We can see this learning in neural network as an inverse problem because it reconstructs the surface from a given set of input points. Okay, so we can see it as inverse problem. And when it comes to the inverse problem, it may be classified as either a well-posed problem or ill-posed problem. Okay, so it may fall into one of these two categories. Now, uh, what is a well-posed problem? So this is the definition of well-posed problem. You can see it. A function f maps x to y is said to be a well-posed problem if it satisfies, the mapping satisfies the following three properties. The properties are: there exists one output for each input. That means if x is the input, there must be an output present for it. That means we can calculate the f of x for a given input. Uh, if you are able to calculate f of x for a given input x, it means there exists an output for the given input x. So the first property is output exists for each input. And the second property is each unique input has a unique output. That means whenever you found that f of x is equals to some f of t, then it should derive the fact that x is equals to t. What it says is, if the outputs of input patterns x and t are same, then there must be only possibility left with x is t. Okay, if x is different from t, you cannot have this f of x is equals to f of t. Okay, so that is the uniqueness property. Every unique input has a unique output. That means for every different input, you should get a different output. Okay, and the third property is the mapping should be a continuous function. Okay, so if any mapping satisfies these three properties, we can call it as a well-posed problem. And the ill-posed problem is opposite to that well-posed. A mapping F is said to be ill-posed if it is not well-posed. Okay. Now, going back towards the regularization theory, it was proposed by Andrei Tikhonov in 1963 to provide a solution for these ill-posed problems. Okay, so whenever there is a mapping that is ill-posed, then we can apply this regularization theory to recover from that imposed problems, or to apply some smoothness to the mapping so that it can map the input patterns in a proper way to the corresponding output patterns. So overall, the regularization theory is helpful to solve these imposed problems. Okay. Now, according to this theory, the unknown mapping f is determined through minimization of a cost function. So I told this earlier, we'll make use of a special regularization term to perform that smoothness, to control that smoothness of a given mapping, right? So here is how it is done. The formula is E of f is equals to Es of f plus lambda into EC of f. F is the mapping, and to control the smoothness of the error term, E of f is equals to Es of f plus lambda into EC of f, where this lambda is the regularization term we use, okay, to control the smoothness properties of the function that we are considering. Okay, so now let us understand what is this Es of f and EC of f clearly. Es of f is a standard error term or interpolation error term, which can be calculated as Es of f is equals to summation I is equals to 1 to n desired response di minus f of xi, that is the actual response from the RBF neural network whole square. Okay, so this we have already seen with our RBF neural network. This is how we actually calculate the error term. Okay, so Es of f acts as the standard error term or interpolation error term, which is calculated as the sum of the differences between the desired responses and the actual responses whole square. Okay, then EC of f is the regularizing term, which can be calculated as EC of f is equals to norm PF whole square. Okay, norm PF whole square. So what is this P? P is a linear differential operator applied on the function f. Okay, so by considering this f, we will apply some linear differential operator on it, and we'll take the square of that corresponding PF. Okay, so this is called as regularization term. EC of f is equals to mod PF whole square. And finally, because this EC of f is multiplied with lambda, lambda acts as the regularization parameter, which will be selected as a random value. So this is the actual parameter that controls that smoothness of your mapping function f. Okay, so I'll repeat it again. The theory, the Andre-Tikhonov's regularization theory, mentions this formula as E of f is equals to ES of f plus lambda into EC of f, where ES of f is a standard error term which will be calculated using the formula ES of f is equals to summation I is equals to 1 to n di minus f of xi whole square, and EC of f is the regularizing term which can be calculated as EC of f is equals to mod PF whole square, where P is a linear differential operator which applies on the mapping that we selected, and lambda is the regularization parameter selected as a random value to control the corresponding smoothness of the function f. Okay. So now, how do you identify the solution to this regularization problem? So we can, as I told earlier, regularization is a framework that directly fits into the RBF neural network because it makes use of a nonlinear mapping from the input space to output space. So as we saw earlier, the general solution for a regularization problem uses the Green's function g of x comma xi. We have several options for this g of x comma xi, as I explained earlier, that forms the special activation function for your RBF neural network. Okay, so what it says is the mapping f of x can be defined as summation I is equals to 1 to n wi into g of x comma xi, where this g of x comma xi is the Green's function. We call it as a Green's function. Okay, and in the formula we use that p uh, as a linear differential operator which applied on function f. If that stabilizer p is translationally invariant, okay, if it is this way translationally invariant, then the solution to generalization problem becomes g of x minus xi. Okay, this is the formula we took, and we practiced this for XR problem also. There we used this formula f of x is equal to summation I is equals to 1 to n wi into g of x minus xi. Okay, so this is one possible way of solving that regularization problem, and the other possibilities are if p is translationally invariant and rotationally also invariant, then the solution to the generalization problem is f of x is equals to summation I is equals to 1 to n wi into g of norm x minus xi. This is called as radial basis function that we used earlier for solving that interpolation problem, right? So f of x is equals to summation I is equals to 1 to n wi into g of norm x minus xi. Okay, so where x act is a input pattern and xi is the center that we consider for the corresponding RBF neural network. Okay, therefore, what we can conclude with this is the regularization of solution to interpolation problem leads to radial basis functions. Okay, why we are saying this? Because the solution involves a radial basis function for mapping the given input patterns into the output pattern. So this input pattern is mapped to output pattern with the help of a radial basis function like this. Okay, so g of norm x minus xi is actually the interpolation activation function that we took earlier, which is defined as e power minus, okay, x minus xi whole square. So this is another possible way of applying this regularization, providing solution to the regularization. Okay, so we saw two possible functions. In general, we can define it as W into Green's function. The Green's function may be selected as either g of x minus xi or g of norm x minus xi, where j of norm x minus xi is treated as the radial basis function. Okay. Now, what are regularization networks? I defined it in the starting slide. What is a regularization network? And now let us go through a detailed explanation about this regularization networks. Have a look at this diagram. It shows a simple RBF neural network with an input layer, which consists of input neurons I1, I2, so on, IP, and a hidden layer, which consists of hidden neurons like this, which uses a separate activation function phi1, phi2, and so on, phi n, where n is the number of hidden neurons, and uses one output layer with exactly one output neuron, where the hidden neurons are connected to the output neuron with help of some weights, W1, W2, so on, Wn. And the mapping function is f of x. Okay, so in regularization neural network, the neurons in the input layer corresponds to the input pattern submitted to the neural network, and each neuron in the hidden layer corresponds to a radial basis function centered on a point C. The output layer has a weighted sum of outputs from hidden layer. So we already discussed these points in our earlier session also. So I explained the architecture of RBF neural network, which is similar to the regularization networks. Okay, therefore, what we can conclude here is the output function of a RBF neural network can be described as f of x is equals to summation j is equals to 1 to n wj into g of norm x minus xj, where n is the number of hidden neurons. Okay, so this is the weight matrix that connects the hidden layer to the output layer, and g of norm x minus xj is the radial basis activation function, which takes each input pattern and the corresponding the center that we took for each hidden layer, hidden neuron. Okay, so this is how we can calculate. And the regularized neural network, the hidden layer implements n Gaussian activation functions, as I show this in this diagram. Okay, there are several hidden neurons, each of which is having a separate Gaussian activation function or radial basis activation function. Okay, and with this, what we can conclude is g of x minus xi is the Gaussian activation function. Is actually it is treated as a Green's function. Okay, it is also named as radial basis function or Gaussian activation function, which is derived from the Green's function g of x minus xi. Okay, so this is the discussion about regularization network, how it looks, and the meaning of each of those neurons and layers, and what is the output function represented by the regularization neural network, and the Green's functions are Gaussian activation functions involved in hidden layer. Okay, so that is about the regularization concept with respect to the RBF neural networks. Now, let us go through some approximation properties for RBF neural networks. We know that RBF neural networks are capable of performing function approximation and we solved some problems also with respect to this. And we'll look into the other approximation properties also now. Okay. The RBF neural networks represent an architecture that solves the interpolation problem, having the desirable properties as it is a universal approximator. That means it can approximate any multivariate continuous function given a sufficiently large number of hidden units. Okay, so based on this property, what we can conclude is if the number of hidden units are sufficiently large, then the RBF neural network can definitely approximate the given input function. Okay, so that is the first property required here. The second property is it has the best approximation property. The RBF neural networks has the best approximation properties compared to the previous one, that is multi-layer perceptron neural network, because there exists a choice of coefficients that approximates the function better than all other possible choices. Okay, so we have several options to be selected for the function, the activation function for the hidden neurons. Therefore, there is always a better choice, a better option we have to perform that approximation. Okay, and finally, the third property of RBF neural network that is desired is the solution is optimal. That means it minimizes the error function. Okay, so it is always guaranteed that RBF neural network minimizes the error function, either with the help of regularization concept or without using regularization concept also. Okay, so these three properties are known as the desirable approximation properties of RBF neural networks. Okay, now till now we discussed about what is a regularization and how it helps in smoothing the function, the output function used in RBF neural network. And in addition to that regularization concept, there are other possibilities also to minimize that overfitting problem of a neural network. Okay, so we'll go through the topic now under the heading this generalization. So now let us understand what is meant by generalization. Whenever we train a neural network, we need to take care of this concept called as generalization. What exactly it means? This means how good our model is at learning from the given data and applying the learned information elsewhere. That means we train our neural network with some sample input patterns, and if we provide input which is not part of the trained input patterns, if our model performs well, then we say that our model is generalized well. Otherwise, it is not generalized well. Okay. So, to understand this, let us go through this now. Suppose the neural network is trained with some input patterns, and there is some data reserved for checking the performance of neural network also. We generally call it as test data. Okay, so neural network is trained with training data, and now it is tested with test data, which is not part of the training data. If the neural network performs well on this test data also, because it was not trained on this data, then we can say that the neural network is generalized well. Okay, otherwise we say that the neural network is overfitted. Okay, so overfitting is a big problem in design of neural networks that has to be resolved quickly, right? So now we'll go through some concepts that helps in minimizing the overfitting. It's not when you consider complex situations or complex problems in real time, it is not always possible to eliminate the overfitting problem, but we can minimize it with the help of the concepts that we are going to discuss. Okay, so one quick solution is with the help of regularization, you can overcome this, that is, you can minimize this overfitting problem as discussed earlier. And there are other possibilities also. We'll see now what are those. Let us have a quick overview of how we can measure this generalization first. Okay, so to measure a network's generalization performance, you need to partition the data sets into three subsets: the training data set, a validation data set, and a test data set. Okay, a training data set will be used to train your neural network, and a validation data set is used to tune the parameters, the hyperparameters required for your neural network, such as the number of hidden units, the number of hidden layers, or the learning rate to be used to get a better performance from our neural network. So to test that, we will use a validation set and a test set for measuring the generalization performance. So overall, training set trains the neural network, validation set tunes the neural network parameters, and test set evaluates its generalization performance. So if it works well on this test set also, we can say that the neural network generalized well. Okay, and also this is a basic strategy that can be used with the neural networks to identify the generalization performance. But there are other variants available along with this basic strategy. One of them is called as cross validation. Okay, so the cross validation is very much useful when you try to solve a complex problem. Along with this, you can use cross validation also to identify the generalization performance of your neural network. Okay, so generally the alternatives used in situations with small data sets only. Okay, most applications of neural nets involves data sets large enough to split into training, validation, and test sets. So whenever you have a large number of data sets, then it is always recommended to use this strategy of partitioning your data sets into three sets, that is training set, validation set, and test set. And also if you can apply a cross validation check also, it is recommended. Okay, now, so how do we reduce this overfitting problem? So there are several recommendations made for reducing the overfitting problem. Let us go through one by one. Because if we can reduce overfitting, it improves the generalization. Both of them are opposite to each other. Therefore, if you reduce overfit, it means the neural network is well generalized. Okay, so the first option, theoretically, the first option that helps reducing the overfitting problem is you can reduce the capacity of the neural network. So what is meant by capacity of neural network is it focuses on the number of layers to be used in the neural network and the number of units used in each layer. Okay, so suppose let us imagine this scenario where 100 units in one layer are directly connected with 100 units in other layer, which requires 10,000 connections in order to make it happen, and which makes the capacity more compared to another possibility discussed over here. So imagine that you are going to connect those 100 units again, but by inserting a linear bottleneck layer in between. Okay, so suppose I want to connect 100 units to 10 units, which requires 1,000 connections, and then this 10 units is connected to 100 units, which requires another 1,000 connections. Okay, so these two, when you compare these two kind of connections, this is taking a more capacity. It is taking more capacity and converges very slowly because the number of connections are more here. And this performs the same task because 100 units are again connected indirectly through some bottleneck layer. Okay, but with very fewer connections compared to this. You have only 2000 connections over here, whereas this requires 10,000 connections. So always try to insert a bottleneck layer instead of connecting the entire set of neurons with the other set of neurons in the sequent consequent layers. Okay, so this is the first technique that can be applied on your neural network, reducing the capacity of neural network, which means that reducing either the number of layers or the number of units per layer, or the solution, the best solution for this is insert a bottleneck layer in order to achieve the same performance from your neural network by reducing the number of connections. Okay, so these are the other strategies that can be used for reducing the overfitting problem. One is early stopping. Early stopping means that stop the training at the point where the generalization error starts to increase. So you need to identify where is that point. Okay, so whenever you identify that the generalization error is starting to increase, then you stop it. Even if the number of epochs that are meant to train for your neural network is not reached, you need to stop it early. And this strategy is known as early stopping. Okay, but you need to identify when to stop by monitoring the validation error. Okay, so you need to calculate this, the validation error during the training. Okay, so based on this, you can stop it early so that it cannot overfit. If you continue the epochs, even if the validation error is starting to increase, then it definitely overfits you the corresponding neural network. Okay. And the next topic is the next technique is regularization and weight decay that we discussed in our today's lecture. Uh, the ultimate goal of this regularization and weight decay is penalize the sum of squares of all the weights in all layers of the network by applying some regularization term lambda. So we saw this already, explained how it can be done. Okay, so this is a way of reducing, minimizing the overfitting problem. Okay, and the another technique is ensembles. Ensembles are nothing but the set of trained models whose predictions that will be combined. Okay, so we are going to combine the predictions of several models, several trained models into a single model, which is called as ensemble. Okay, it's a combination of several models. So ensembles of networks often generalize uh, better than single networks. That is the reason why in the neural network research, most of the researchers use the ensembles. That means they combine the behavior of several trained models that performs individually well, and they'll try to solve a complex task by combining these trained models. Okay, so this is another technique that can be used to reduce or minimize the overfitting problem. Okay, and another technique is data augmentation, which means that we artificially augment the training data set by introducing some distortions into the inputs. That means we don't consider the inputs as it is. We'll put some distortions into the inputs, and this process is called as data augmentation. Okay, and mostly this is used in vision applications. Okay, the image processing application makes use of this data augmentation under the tag data cleaning. Okay, so these are the techniques that we can apply to minimize the overfitting problem and to increase the generalization property of the neural networks. Okay. Uh, So we have completed the topic of generalization, and also we have seen the RBF neural network architectures and designs till now. Now, in our previous unit, we have discussed about how the multi-layer perceptrons or multi-layer feed-forward neural networks can be used for approximation problems in our previous unit. Okay, now Let us compare the working of RBF neural networks, which we learned in 5th unit, and multi-layer perceptron networks, which we learned in 4th unit. Let us have a comparison between these two. So first comparison is RBF network has a single hidden layer, while multi-layer perceptron uses more layers. Okay, so either one layer or more layers. So MLP allows us to use more than one hidden layer also. Okay. The second comparison is all neurons of multi-layer perceptron commonly use the same model, while hidden neurons of RBF neural network may be different and have different purpose. So we saw this in the architecture also. It uses a different activation functions, which maps the input space into hidden space. Okay. And the third comparison is the hidden layer of a RBF neural network is non-linear. So we know this. The RBF neural network, the mapping between input layer and the hidden layer is always non-linear mapping, and the output layer is linear again. Okay, the mapping from hidden layer to output layer is linear, whereas the multi-layer perceptron on all neurons are usually non-linear. Okay, and the final comparison is the argument of the activation function in a RBF neural network is distance, generally going to be the Euclidean distance between the input sample and the RBF's unit centers. So we'll select some centers, and then we will calculate the Euclidean distance between every other input pattern to the center. Okay, so this becomes the parameter for the activation function that we use in hidden layer of the RBF neural network. Whereas in multi-layer perceptron network, the argument of the activation function is a product of input vector and weight vector. Okay, that is it just uses Wi into Xi plus bias if any. That will become the argument for the activation function that we use in multi-layer perceptron. Okay, so these are the comparisons between RBF neural networks and multi-layer perceptron neural networks. Ultimately, what you need to understand is both of these neural networks, RBF neural networks and multi-layer perceptron neural networks, are very good at approximating the functions. Okay, so they act as best universal approximators among other neural networks. But compared to multi-layer perceptron neural network, RBF neural network performs well for function approximation, and particularly while solving that interpolation problems. Okay, so that is about the comparison between RBF networks and multi-layer perceptrons. Right. So what are the applications of RBF neural networks? So here is some applications listed down. It is a simple list, a small list of applications where you can use RBF neural networks. RBF neural networks are widely used in image processing purpose. Okay, in image processing applications makes use of RBF neural networks, and we can use RBF neural networks with speech recognition also. Okay, similarly, we can use RBF neural networks in adaptive equalization applications also, and the medical diagnosis applications also makes use of RBF neural networks. Then the radar and sonar source localization problems also makes use of RBF neural networks, and then finally the analysis of stochastic signals applications can also make use of RBF neural networks. Okay, so these are only a few areas where RBF neural network can be used. There are many other applications that comes under RBF neural network applications also. Okay, so With this, we have completed our fifth unit. So let me briefly conclude what we learned in fifth unit till now. In fifth unit, we started with the Covers theorem uh, that specifies a solution to the pattern separability problems, and also we have gone through a nonlinear separability problem and a solution with the interpolation matrix. Okay, that is the first topics we discussed in our fifth unit. Okay, so you need to read that Covers theorem and interpolation problem for your examination point of view. Those are two important topics that you should learn. The statement of Covers theorem and the formulas used with the interpolation problem. And then in second lecture, what we discussed is we have seen the architecture of the RBF neural network, which specifies the three layers: input layer, hidden layer, and output layer. We just took the basic version of RBF neural network, which is meant for solving the binary classification problems, which cannot be used for multi-class classification. Okay, and then we saw an example problem, XR problem, when we designed RBF neural network for solving or for simulating the behavior of XR function in our second lecture. Okay. In third lecture, we discussed about the training algorithm used with RBF neural network that we saw in earlier classes. Okay, we just listed down all the steps used with the RBF neural network training algorithm. And today we have gone through several important concepts related to RBF neural network, starting with the regularization that helps in controlling the smoothness of output function F. And then we have seen how regularization neural networks are useful in minimizing the overfitting problems. Okay. Uh, and also we discussed about several other strategies that may be helpful in minimizing overfitting, uh, that makes the neural networks to be generalized well. Okay, and finally, we compared the performance of RBF neural networks and the multi-layer feed-forward neural networks that we learned in our previous unit. Okay, and we listed down some application areas of this RBF neural networks. Okay, so that's what about fifth unit. It is all about RBF neural networks. Okay, so we have completed unit 5 now. In our next session, we'll be starting the sixth unit, which is about the support vector machines. Okay, so that's all for today. Thank you all for your patient listening. See you in the next session. Thank you all.